And we're live. Welcome to Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs. My name is Mustafa Hosseini, and I'm your host for the show. At Daily Confidence, our aim and goal is to share tips and actionable advice that you can use and apply to your business and apply to your daily routines to boost your confidence when it comes to running your business. And these are things that you can apply and see results almost immediately. Obviously, some of this stuff takes longer. Now, I am still waiting for my guest to arrive. We have a time difference. He is coming from Australia, and we'll see if we're going to see him on the show. If not, we're just going to keep going and maybe reschedule with him later. Anyway, so one way that we help our audience to boost their confidence when it comes to running their business is setting clear goals and a simple one-page plan to achieve their goals within a 90-day period or within a 1-year period. And one of our products is Simple Marketing Formula, where we work on creating a one-page marketing plan. Now, the way that helps you or business owners, coaches, consultants, authors, speakers, experts, and whatnot, help them boost their confidence is by simplifying everything that you know and putting it in one page. The problem that we fix and we solve is the fact that most coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs have their head in 12 different things at the same time, most of the time, and nothing's really working. So we help simplify your knowledge and go through and get a foundational understanding of your business and set your goals, identify who your profitable target market is, craft your offer, and work on setting your strategies for lead generation, lead conversion, and client retention. With that, you'll know exactly what to do, and you have a one-page plan that you can use on a daily basis, right? And so if you don't have a clear set of goals, growing your business becomes very difficult. And what happens is when you join us, you work with a group of entrepreneurs and business owners and basically work on crafting your offer and your plan and the rest of it. My guest is here and he's going to join us here in a few seconds. Now, the next time that we're running Simple Marketing Formula is on the weekend of January 22nd to 24th. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the class goes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. That's Mountain Standard Time in North America. And if you are working on growing your business and taking it to a whole new level in 2021 and take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there, feel free to join us and we will work together. Welcome, Tom.
Hey, Mustafa.
How are you?
Good, mate. I'm well.
Fantastic. What time is it where you are right now?
It's just gone 7:30, 7:37, I think.
Okay. Now, 7:37 in the morning. You're in
tomorrow.
Queensland, Australia.
Correct. A little place called Castaways Beach.
Beautiful. So with Tom, we are talking about how to generate high quality new client and get new client inquiry. Let me try that again. How to generate high quality new client inquiries in just 1 hour a month with webinars. And what's the title of your book again, Tom?
Marketing with Webinars. Get new clients in 1 hour per month.
Marketing with Webinars. So let me do the proper introduction to Tom, and then we're going to get started and go deeper into webinars, how they work, and what will transpire. So Tom Poland is an inbound marketing specialist with 37 years of experience. He is the multiple best-selling author of the Leadsology series, and he has also shared international speaking platforms with the likes of Michael Gerber, Marshall Goldsmith, Brian Tracy, and many others. Tom has started, managed, and sold multiple businesses over 4 decades, including teams of over 100 and revenue of more than $20 million. He works with clients in 27 cities and 15 time zones around the world. That is very nice. He describes himself as voluntarily married and lives in a house on the sand next to the waves of the little Castaway Beach in Queensland, Australia. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Mustafa. It's a privilege to be here.
It is great to see you, my friend. How are things going for you?
Yeah, things, I can honestly say things have never been going better. COVID, I don't know. You know, if you're in the business of marketing with webinars, not that I wish COVID on anyone, but everyone's now going, gee shucks, there are no conferences I can go to. There are no trade shows I can go to. There's no business networkings I can go to. There are no seminars I can go through. And all the time that I told myself I could never do my marketing webinars, maybe I should re-examine that belief. So for me, it's going gangbusters. We launched this book December the 3rd, and you can see the efficient and effective auxiliary to marketing through seminars. So COVID will disappear shortly, hopefully, with vaccinations and so on. But webinars now are here to stay in terms of one of the most desirable mediums through which to do our marketing for all sorts of reasons, which we can dive into at your leisure, sir.
Absolutely. So, Tom, tell us about your story behind what you do now and how you got into it.
Right. Well, my story goes back a couple of years as a 23-year-old, and you can tell I, past that a bit now. You didn't have to agree so quickly. So we're talking 41 years ago. I started as a management consultant, and in hindsight, it's a pretty stupid thing to do. A 23-year-old management consultant, people look at you like, what would you know? But anyhow, I figured out real quick I had to get good at marketing, and so I bought a lot of books, went to a lot of seminars, and implemented a whole lot of stuff, and it didn't freaking work. And it took me literally a couple of decades to figure out why it didn't work. And there were three reasons. One is that when you're marketing, coaching services, consulting services, anything where we're asking prospects to enter into a relationship of trust, it's actually far more like we're proposing marriage than it is, say, selling a washing machine. And what I discovered is that events were one of the very best ways to establish a relationship of trust with a prospect before we proposed talking about working together. So I've done over 500 events since 1995, physical events, hire a conference center, pack it full of people and strut your stuff for a couple of hours, hand out feedback forms, people tick a box saying, yes, I'd like to talk about becoming a client. When I sold that business in 2008 and semi-retired and got bored and was getting under my wife's feet too much, she told me I had to start a new business. And I remember getting an email one day, and the email said, we've got this thing called a webinar. And I thought, oh my goodness, how clever is that? A web and a seminar, you put the words together, webinar. So I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning because it run out of the States summer and I'm here in Australia. And I was bored as batshit. I mean, this thing was death by bullet point, that we couldn't see anyone. It was just PowerPoint, bullet point, PowerPoint. But I went back to bed and I didn't really sleep that well because I get thinking. All of those workshops that I've run over so many years in so many different countries, if we could do that with a webinar, I could see the potential. So I signed up for, was one of the first early adopters of GoToWebinar, still with them, love the platform, great customer service, so reliable. So that's my backstory. I started as a management consultant, struggling to get clients, figured out events were one of the very best ways to get those clients, and then morphed into running webinars when I got lazy.
Very interesting. So what do you teach your clients about how to generate quality audience for webinars?
Yeah, that's the number one question. So the two best sources of audiences are other people's networks. That's the best one by a long shot. So 85% of our revenue, and in a good month we're generating $100,000 US. 85% of that revenue is going to come from other people's email lists, other people's networks, as I call it. The balance comes from LinkedIn. So the two premium sources, if you're marketing services, advice, or software, or anything, frankly, luxury top-end physical items like secondhand Learjets as well, the two best audience sources are other people's networks and LinkedIn. Other people's networks, or people might know them as joint ventures, but we do it a little differently. And I believe we created something of a science out of that, because not all joint venture partners are created equal. Some of them might get you 8 registrants for a webinar, some might get you 800. So we want to be able to figure out well in advance whether a person is which end of that spectrum they're going to be in. So and forget Facebook funnels. You know, the utopian idea is that you can set up a Facebook ad and you can split test the ads and segment and put tripwires in. I've run Facebook ads. I know about funnels. We did that for 5 years. But what happened in the end is our registrants, so Facebook ads, drive traffic to register for a webinar through a free PDF, and the cost of getting that person to the webinar registered was $12. We could get someone registered from someone else's email list for free. And I sat down, to my horror, I discovered that the person coming from someone else's email list, so let's say, Mustafa, you were good enough to promote my webinar, the people coming from your email list who registered for my webinar were 20 times more likely to buy than someone who registered from a Facebook ad. 20 times.
Yeah.
So here I was paying $12 per registrant from Facebook, 0 from a partners, and 20 times more likely to buy. So I figured out this. 1849, California gold rush, right? Everyone's going, there's gold in California, and then there are hills. They went to California and they bought themselves tents and they bought themselves picks and sluicing and everything else, right? So who made the money in the gold rush? Who made most of the money in the gold rush? Was it the gold diggers or was it the people selling the tools? We all know it was Levi Strauss selling his tents and his jeans and the pickaxes and everything else. So who's making the most money with Facebook? It's the people selling the click funnel things, the tools, right? The people making the money, people selling the tools, just like the gold rush. The poor schmucks like me who bought the tools and tried them and go, well, I didn't get lucky.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And even if we, in the early days of Facebook ads, we were paying $1 per registrant. But even then, why would I be paying like $3,000 a month when I could get leads that were 20 times more likely to convert for nothing? It just didn't make sense anymore. So I shut down my Mark Zuckerberg account.
You got it. Yeah. Eric says $12 each. Yikes.
Yeah.
So, and welcome, Eric.
The other thing behind that, Eric, is that you'll find that some of the big hitters are spending $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 a month on Facebook ads. And if the cost per click is actually a cost per impression, because it's the number of times your ad appears that you pay for, not the click. Clicks up to you. You know, if you can get good bait, you can get more clicks. But if that cost per click goes up by 50 cents, they're absolutely freaking out because they're feeding this massive machine of teams of people doing these Facebook ads, and they're going broke. They are now literally going broke. Every month they're shoveling personal money into their freaking Facebook campaigns. Yeah. And they're trapped, and it's awful.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are joining us now or watching or listening later, my friend Tom Poland is talking about how to generate leads and bring qualified business through webinars. If you have been around and been watching for what, obviously everybody's involved with what's going on with COVID and whatnot. And so webinars are a needed thing, and it really works well because people cannot go to face-to-face offline events. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. But even for folks, if you're listening to this and it's like a year later and everyone's vaccinated, it's still the smartest way to generate your leads. It's just that right now it's probably the only way in terms of running an event to run a lead. Because if you gave lead generation, the different ways you could do it, a score for effectiveness and for efficiency, webinars top that. More effective? Yeah, absolutely. You get 200 people into a conference center and you're there physically. Is that more effective? Absolutely. But it's also much more expensive, much more complicated. And I've done over 500 of them, so I know a little bit about that. Not quite my first rodeo, but it's very expensive. It's very, very complicated. Everyone has to drive or travel, etc. With webinars, my commute is from the espresso machine in my kitchen down the hallway. Ta-da! I'm on stage.
That's a long way. Can you handle it, Tom?
Yeah. Well, it's sometimes I have the commute. Sometimes I have to push the dogs out of the way, but that's about it.
I'm just joking, Tom. For people that are maybe new to the idea of joint ventures and partners and promoting your business and webinars and your launches through partners, tell us a little bit about the mechanics and how that works and how and why it's free on the front end.
Right. So I think the most unspoken and yet the most powerful force in marketing is reciprocity. And reciprocity simply means that our unconscious wants to keep the score even. You do something for me, I really feel magnetically compelled to do, keep that score, even do something back for you. So what we do with our system is we have a data miner, and this is exactly the same system we teach all our clients. We have a data miner typically in the Philippines, and we pay them really well for, in terms of Filipino rate, it's top dollar. We give them a nice generous monthly bonus, which I just paid someone $900, but they bought in close to 30,000, so it's pretty good money. Anywho, we have someone else doing the data mining, because you and I don't want to do the data mining. We're like dogs trying to meow. If you're trying to do the data mining, it just doesn't come natural to us. We like to show up to meetings. Yeah, we present, and we're people. You give me a meeting of people to present to, or give me a one-on-one person to meeting to wants to talk about becoming a client. I'll show up to those meetings. I don't want to wake up in the morning and do data mining. So get someone else, outsource the stuff you don't want to do. That's one of the keys to success with this thing, is do the things you were born to do that maximize the potential of your talents and your gifts that help the most people, and it ain't data mining. So we employ someone to do that for 5 hours a week at $5 an hour, pretty low cost. They Google search, and they come up with Mustafa Hussaini, and then they qualify you. Is he already marketing webinars? Is he got a personality-led website? Is he targeting the same target market? There's 5 knockout factors. And for this freelancer, it's like flicking burgers at McDonald's. You can't lose. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. You just tick, tick, tick. And then they quantify them through an algorithm that we developed. Mm-hmm. So we can tell in advance through our algorithm how many webinar registrants any prospective partner is likely to generate for us. And if it's in the sweet spot, if it's between about what we could reciprocate with, when we started, it was like maybe 8 registrants, and now it's about 150, 200. But if they can reciprocate at a similar level, then we approach them, we bridge them from being a prospect to a partner. Mm-hmm. And that's the system. Absolutely. And it's all laid out step by step by step. And that takes the guesswork out of it.
Love it. I mean, if you could identify who can do what by checking out their online presence and through your algorithm with the software, that's a plus, right? Because sometimes people talk a big game, but they don't follow through.
Yeah, you notice that too.
And like you said, not all JV partners are created equal. So
we had one guy who walked around the internet like he owned half of it. 8 registrants, which I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that according to the way he was talking and strutting around the internet, it was like he's going to get us 8 million. He goes 8. We got him around 180. So we kind of got dudded on that one. And you're not going to win it every single time, but we have an 80% success rate with matching the right partners. The algorithm kind of like one of our JV partners in our group described it as Tinder for JV. Swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Oh, swipe right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tom, Eric is asking, do you encourage evergreen webinars versus live webinars?
Great question. The simple answer is no. It's certainly not to start with. If you can't convert from a live webinar, you're not going to do it from an evergreen. First of all, people know it's an evergreen. They're not stupid. They've been to enough of them now to know the difference between live and evergreen. And so if you present it as live and it's actually an evergreen, it's bait and switch, it's duplicitous, it's defeatful, and people will quite likely sit there and go, okay, so they're pretending it's live, but I know it's not. Is it going to get any better once I pay the money? The answer is probably not. All right. If it's bait and switch at the start, they're going to keep going that. So the first reason is you've got to tell them it's evergreen. We have a 10-minute evergreen webinar, but we don't push it much. The first reason, you've got to tell them it's evergreen. Otherwise, it's duplicitous, it's deceitful. Second reason is people's attention span is not great. And so if they know it's evergreen, which you should tell them, they'll be there clearing their emails and checking their Facebook feed and looking at LinkedIn connections while you're talking on your evergreen webinar. So you need massive volume to make the evergreens work, and you need a very short. Our evergreen is 10 minutes long. Versus I can run a 90-minute webinar and have 99% attentiveness rating as measured by our webinar platform, not by me. But I could never achieve that with Evergreen. The other reason to do, third reason to do live is that you want to tell people you care about them. If you've got a high ticket price item, do you really want the first message to be, look, I don't really care about you as a prospect. I might become a client, but I don't really at this point. So I want our brand to reek of care. We care. Try to answer everyone's email. Every new client gets my mobile phone number. And when we give it to them, we say, happy to give you this because I don't think you're ever going to need it, because we care enough to give you the support you need, and so on. So if it's Evergreen versus Live, I'm not sure it's sending the right message straight off the bat. If you're selling a $20 product, that's fine. But if you're selling a product that requires a high level of trust, not so good. Fourth reason to do them live is mastery. Yeah. If you want to get brilliant at a thing, you have to do it a lot. Yeah. Doesn't matter if it's a golf swing, a tennis swing, hitting the right note and singing, writing. Webinars are no different. If you want to become a master at it, you got to do it a lot. If you do one webinar and record it and put it in the can, that's it. You're not going to be very good at it. Great question, though.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are joining us now, we are talking about Evergreen or webinars, and it's best to do it live versus Evergreen because people know. Where was I at? So gang, if you're watching or listening, I'm going to do a draw for an Amazon gift card here later today, and we're going to announce it by tomorrow. And for you to enter the draw, if you engage, ask questions, like and subscribe to the show, and or if you rate our podcast on our Apple podcast, the links are in the description of the show. You enter your name into draw for the Amazon gift card, which you can probably use during the holiday season to buy yourself something nice. And Tom, you're going to talk about this tool that you got for what you might call it. Can people get access to that?
JV Juice, the algorithm?
Yeah.
Yeah, at jvjuice.com.
Okay, so go to jvjuice.com and you get access to this Tinder for webinars kind of tool where you you can analyze.
It's a freemium offer, so you can get 14 free searches every month.
14 free searches?
Yep.
All right. So if you're into the game of the joint ventures and JV partners, if someone shows up and you have a chat with them, you just quickly double check their site, and this tool will tell you how much traffic you can expect from.
Yeah, specifically how many webinar registrants that website will generate for you. And people think it's, I don't know, it's hard to believe. And if you told me that you could do this, but so if you're okay, I'll just take 60 seconds to explain how it works. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yep. So what we do is we get 7 metrics from people's websites, and we use independent platforms like SEMrush, Ahrefs, these like big SEO organizations, Alexa, and we find 7 metrics such as average duration rate, bounce rate, unique visit numbers, etc. We have 7 of those. We put them through an algorithm, and it predicts a range of webinar registrants that the owner of that website would be able to generate for us: 0 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 plus. Mm-hmm. So it tells us, hence, Tinder for JVs, it tells us where the sweet spot is. If we can generate 200 webinar registrants for someone else, we want to do a JV with them, with people that can do something similar. And so whatever the level you're playing the game at, you can find people there that are going to play the game at a similar level and will want to play the game with you. So it's like a crystal ball. I use it exactly the way you described. By having a conversation with someone, I can go tap, 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 boom, shows me the prediction in less than a second. But a data miner uses it. So data miners surfing the internet going, who else is running webinars? To Tom's, consultants, business coaches, etc. Oh, there's a website. Put in the algorithm, boom. We know if we've got a green light, orange light, or a red light.
And then you approach them and say, hey, let's work together?
Yeah, well, then we approach them. I approach them and say, hey, I've got a podcast. I'd love you to appear on it. And the podcast, I know I want to work with them because we've done our homework. But they don't know me from a bar of soap. So I need a bridge. I need a first date with them before I propose marriage.
Absolutely.
And the bridge doesn't have to be a podcast, but that's one of the best ones to establish a high level of rapport, respect, relatability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have a platform, if you can share, give them some exposure, that's the best way to go in and say, hey, I'm serious. Let's play together. Looks like we could be good partners here. Yeah,
and reciprocity, right? We're doing something cool for them. Most of the money, and I'll give them a lot of value away for here. And another question I get, by the way, is how much do I tell people on webinars? I mean, because I was brought up in a marketing school. I had a marketing mentor who made me swear on my mother's grave, always tell people what they need to do, but never tell them how to do it.
Tell us more about
money for that. Okay. Well, I'm done with that. because I figured out I want to work with smart people who have money. People who are smart, I only have to be smart enough to how dumb they are about marketing webinars. If they've got money and they're smart, they want to work with me. Now, I've been broke. I understand that. So I give a lot of value away to everyone who can't afford to work with me, because that's good karma for me and it helps them maybe a little bit. But I tell people what to do. I tell people how to do it as best I possibly can in the context of a webinar or an interview like this, because the smart ones who have money want to reach out to me. And the ones that don't have the money, well, at least I give them some value, right? So let's get back to your question now, which was...
the what versus how.
Where most of the money is made. That's where I was going with this. So you've done this. Someone's promoted my webinar, which is great. The money is made at the debrief meeting. After they've promoted my webinar and I've promoted whatever they want me to promote, and I've checked out the quality, made it right, we sit down and we do a debrief. Mustafa, were you happy with the way we supported you? Did you get this? Yep, great. And yep, terrific. Now let's refer each other to 3 people who want to do the same thing. And that's where most of the money is made, at the debrief meeting. Well in excess.
Tell us about the debrief meeting. Is this after the webinar or?
Debrief, yeah. After we've supported each other in whatever way we're doing that, whether that's webinars or book promotions or whatever else, before we do that promotion, we book a time for a later date to do a debrief.
Me and you, when we're promoting each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then we're going to have it. Okay.
Yeah. Now the debrief meeting must be booked before we do the reciprocal marketing, before we do the joint venture.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we'll go and chase another shiny thing. We'll get busy. We'll forget about it.
Yeah.
So at the debrief meeting, it's important for me to confirm that as a JV partner, you felt well supported by us. Vice versa. If we're both happy with that, then we refer each other to 3 people who would like to do the same.
Love it. That's a killer strategy.
97% of professional marketers who do joint ventures don't do the debrief and they don't do the referral. And yet that's where money is made.
I have a course called Viral Coefficient Formula. And viral coefficient, what it shows is how many referrals can you get from an existing partner or an existing customer.
Beautiful.
So in this formula that he just shared, your VQ ratio would be 3, meaning out of every partner you get another 3 partners. And you can see how exponentially that could grow your business.
Yeah. And,
right?
And on average, one of those partners does nothing ever. One of them does something later, and one of them does something now.
Mm-hmm.
The relentlessness of the system. So every single one of my clients has a KPI: 4 partners a month, 1 per week.
Love it. Love it. That was a killer strategy. I love it, Tom.
So what happens is you develop this relentlessness about growing the list and about generating new client inquiries. It becomes so relentless that on more than one occasion, I've had to shut my doors to new clients. We had to scale up the back end so we could handle the volume.
I'm guessing then you're also relentless in staying in touch with your list and all these partners and nurturing the relationship and,
Yeah, we're very good at that. And it raises the point you always want to. So our email list, you want to think of your email list as not a group of people that you can market your stuff to. It's a very limited paradigm. You want to think of your email list as some people you can market other people's stuff to. Because I can market my stuff to my list maybe once every 90 days without them getting sick of me and unsubscribing.
Exactly.
The rest of the time, every single week they get something for free that's valuable.
Yeah.
So they stay subscribed.
Exactly.
So my email list is there to market other people's stuff, not my stuff, because I can get a multiplication factor of 13 times. Every quarter, there's 13 weeks. I can market someone else's stuff, 13 different people's lists, and I get access to 13 other email lists instead of just accessing my one little email list. Love
it. Okay, so he just shared some very important and interesting golden nuggets for you to take action on starting today. So let's go back to webinars. What is the best call to action at the end of a webinar? What should I do in terms of call to action?
On the price point. you can. So I think the best call to action is the consult. It's let's meet 101. But let me go back a step before that. The webinar should be positioned as a demonstration of how you work with your clients to get the benefits they enjoy getting. It's not a free training session. It's not a free training session. It's a demonstration of how I work with my clients to generate in 27 cities around the world to generate a regular flow of weekly high quality fun using webinars. Bang, that's the title. So when people come to that, they're getting exactly what I promised them. It's not a free training where at the end there's pull your credit card out and buy now before so you get the bonuses and all that bullshit. Manipulative stuff. It's just let's have a conversation one-on-one and see if we should be working together. But they have to go to an application page. So mine is bookachatwithtom.com. And when they go there after the webinar, that's my call to action. Go to bookachatwithtom.com, have a read of it. Do you think it's a good idea? Go ahead and book a time. But they have to check 4 boxes. I've told them what the prices are on the webinar. I've told them how I work with my clients on the webinar. That was the subject of the webinar. Come along. So I've got full permission to tell them everything, including prices, how long we work together, and so on. But the 4 boxes they have to check is, number 1, I understand this is not going to be a free idea session. And I'm aware that ideas is not about implementation. And that would be a waste of their time if they thought they were just going to pick my brain, get some ideas, and go away because they won't implement properly. So that's number 1 is I understand it's not a free idea session. Neither is a sales ambush. I understand if I want to think about it, I'll be allowed to think about it. That's important. Because selling is what you have to do when your marketing sucks. You do your marketing right, you don't have to do any selling. So number 1, I understand it's not a free idea session. Number 2, I'm ready to start if we agree it's a good idea. Number 3, I understand what your fees are and I have that in my budget if we agree it's a good idea. And number 4, I have attended your webinar or I will watch the replay link prior to meeting with you one-on-one, which will come with a booking confirmation. Once they check all 4 boxes and they literally have to go click, 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 then my booking link becomes live and they can find a time to talk with me. If they miss one check box and they click on the booking link, it doesn't work.
So the booking link gets activated when they check off all these 4 conditions.
Yeah, and that's what I call the filters.
I love it. I love that. We were actually talking about this very, very process yesterday morning. So what was the link again, Tom?
Bookachatwithtom.com.
All right, bookachatwithtom.com. Go check it out. And Tom knows his stuff when it comes to webinars and marketing and JVs. And he's been around for a couple of years, but he knows his stuff.
You can tell, right?
All right. So, Tom, what's the difference between a training webinar and a marketing webinar, and when should people use them?
Right. So training webinar is obviously once you've got a client or you've got a captive audience that needs to receive a skill. A marketing webinar is a very, very different animal. So the sequencing with the marketing webinar is the important thing. We have a 6-item agenda. When we go through a webinar, we say, here are the 6 things we're going through. The first 3 have nothing to do with how we work with clients. It's all setting it up. So there's a promise inherent in the title of step 1. So this is the sequence that we walk people through. It's what I call a persuasion sequence. You don't need this in a training webinar. The training webinar, sure, you got to talk about why you're qualified to train this group of people, but then you're great to get straight into skill development. Webinars have to be set up. If we give people the wrong information too soon, we lose them. If we don't give it in the right sequence, we lose them. And the biggest number 1 mistake people make when they figure out how to get the audiences, and we've talked a little bit about that, if they've got a good audience, the number 1 mistake people make when they're presenting the webinars is giving away too much information. And I don't mean too much value. I mean it's too complex. Presenters often fall into the trap of wanting their presentation to be bulletproof to the criticism of their competitors. They have a little colleague or a competitor on their shoulder going, yes, but you didn't tell them about this, or you've missed that, or whatever. You get a choice with the presentation. You can either make it comprehensive or understandable. So it's got to be 12-year-old simple. So when there's 51 steps in our program, I give them 3. These are the 3 things. I sum them up in 3 different parts. If you describe how you work with the clients in any number of steps that's greater than 3, you will start losing people.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So I break my model down into 3 parts. You need an audience. All marketing needs an audience, whether it's people driving on a freeway listening to radio, that's an audience. People on Amazon looking for books, that's an audience. People searching, that's an audience, so on. So you need an audience, whatever marketing you do. You need an asset, a medium through which to get your message about your offer out to that audience, and you need a call to action. So my 3-part model is audience, asset, action. So I explain to folks, doesn't matter what marketing you're going to use, you're going to be doing, you're going to need those 3 parts. So let's look at why marketing webinars is your best option. Your best audience is other people's networks. Your best asset is the webinar. And your best call to action is the consult booking system that I described before. And I say to folks, if you have any doubt about the effectiveness of marketing webinars, just ask yourself, what's the oldest, most proven marketing method in the world? And you go back thousands of years, you'll discover it's speaking to groups of people. And if you have any doubt about that, you just ask yourself, well, how many clients did Christ, Buddha, and Muhammad have? Like billions. And all those 3 guys did was speak to groups of people, mostly small groups of people. So you take the oldest, most effective marketing method in the world, you combine it with the US marketing medium, which is the internet, and you have webinars. And so, but I could describe the 51 steps that a client goes through, and we break them down to simple little steps. But I'd lose people. I think, my God, they're so complex. It would give them the wrong impression. So I break it down into audience. You need an audience. This is how you get them. An asset. You need an asset. This is how you do the webinar content. And a call to action. This is how you do it.
Love it. Okay, so the next question is an issue with people that have tried webinars or are trying, that was an issue for me as well. So how do you make sure that the right people attend your webinar?
Oh, God, you are so full of the best questions. It's the title. Okay, so imagine there's a forest of 100 sleeping bears. The point to this will become clear in a moment. And if magically somehow 3 of those bears are hungry for your honey. You got some honey, which is metaphors for your service, your product. The 100 sleeping bears are suspects. We suspect they might be hungry for the honey, but we know 3 of them are definitely hungry. So how do we find the 3 hungry bears in the forest full of 100 sleeping bears? Well, we can go running through the forest and, find a bear, grab a stick, poke it in the ass with a stick and wake it up and wave the honey pot in front of its nose. Now, if it's not hungry, we better be a good runner, right? It's like cold calling. It's like just pestering people on LinkedIn saying, do you want consulting services today or whatever? So we can go running through the forest, jabbing bears in the bums with a sharp stick, waking them up, hoping they're one of the hungry ones. Or we can just simply put the honey pot outside the forest. The hungry bears will probably dream they're swimming in honey or something. They'll wake up and they'll go, oh, I'm a bit disappointed. There's no honey here. Hang on, I can smell it. And they come out of the forest.
Okay.
So your title is the honey pot. The forest is the other person's email list.
So what's the best way to go about creating the title? Can you give us some tips on that?
3-step formula. Benefit rich, contains specifics, and is differentiated. So benefit rich is first and foremost is the most important thing. Come along to a demonstration of how my clients in 27 cities around the world are generating a weekly flow of high quality inbound new client inquiries.
Yes. And that was the title for today, which I had a hard time squeezing it into my head. But
the thing is, it's not a USP or an elevator pitch, because with those, it's communicated verbally. Titles are communicated visually. Mm-hmm. So we get more real estate to play with the title. People can assimilate more than they read than they can when they hear. So that title is your honeypot. So your partner who's promoting a webinar sends an email out to their email list to the 100 sleeping bears. And the 3 hungry ones look and go, oh, I need that. I'm going to go to that webinar. So, and you notice I talked about 27 different cities and weekly flow, high quality. So it's benefit rich, but it's also very specific. 27 cities every single week, inbound, high quality, a lot of specificity in there. And so because of the specificity, it's different. So the title could be, come along and learn about marketing with webinars. It's okay. But it's not going to excite. What specificity does is it increases 2 things, desirability and believability. No specificity, I don't get cut through, and I don't get to the point of being able to invoke desirability and believability.
Mm-hmm. Now, Tom, let me ask you another question. I know that in the game of webinars, it's one thing to get people to register, and it's a whole different ballgame to get them to show up.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, great question. So if we go back to 2008, when I started doing webinars, 40% attendance rate was the standard. You get 40% of 100 people register, 40 turn up. And then one day a colleague, and I still remember him, Andrew Roberts, said to me, how many are you getting from your replay? And I said, what do you mean replay? He said, you idiot, do replays. You know, the people that don't attend, send them the replay and you'll get some more sales. So I tried it and it worked. And we'd got another 50% bump, whatever sales or inquiries we got from the webinar, we got another 50% replay. My God, this is amazing. I've been getting so much money in the money. Thank you, Andrew. So we did replays. What happened between 2008 and 2018 is attendance levels went from 40% down to 8.5%. We conditioned people to want the replay. You know what, I registered, but get the replay, right? Do they watch the replays? In the early years, they did. Lately, they don't. Too many other options. So the way you keep your attendance levels high is in title case, like you're yelling, no replay.
Oh, okay, so, I like that.
Yeah, but now I'm leaving money on the table because I'm not doing a replay. Well, we fix that. We say there will be no replay. But what we do is we have a 5-day follow-up sequence. And every single day, over 5 days, including the day of the webinar, we follow up with something that gives us some value from the webinar that's not a video replay. So, for example.
So you share bits and pieces from the webinar that is not a replay, not the whole thing.
Correct. So the day after, for example, everyone who registered, including attendees, gets a 23-page PDF summarizing the webinar. But it's not a replay. 48 hours later, they get a 5-minute video summarizing, which is a hand-drawn cartoon, one of those cartoon things that summarizing the webinar. 72 hours later, they get a 1-page blueprint summarizing, guess what? The webinar. On the 5th day, they get an email saying, hey, hope you enjoyed all the stuff we're going to send you. By the way, we're closing at midnight tonight for inquiries. That's it. So we still enjoy a very high percentage attendance rate, but now we get literally 2 to 3 times whatever inquiries we generated from the webinar. We get literally 2 to 3 times more of those inquiries with the follow-up sequence.
Very interesting.
And the people
that was a great tip. So you're not giving them a replay, but you just share some tips and different pieces from your training. That's via email, and you dripped and
exactly. And every email has the call to action in it as well.
A call to action to book a one-on-one or a consult?
To go to bookachatwithtom.com.
Love it.
Yeah.
Tom, I understand that you are sharing a gift with our audience. Can you tell us about your gift, please?
Oh, yes.
I know you have many gifts. I think it's a leadgendemo.live.
Yeah, that's the best one to go to, leadgendemo.com. The only reason I hesitated is we're coming up to Christmas, and we're not going to be doing that till January. But folks, if you're not in a hurry, leadgendemo.com. Otherwise,
is it not live?
Yeah, that's live.
I thought it was. Is it leadgendemo.com or .live?
But either's fine. They both go to the same place. But yes, okay. Thank you. I should have said .live. We wanted the .live to indicate it is live. But that's not going to happen until January. If people want to know, Mustafa, for your audience only, and I don't think I've ever offered this before, because we're coming into Christmas, I'm not going to do another one until sometime in January. If they reach out to me personally, I will get them a replay link.
Amazing.
And then they can watch it whenever they like. I'll break my golden rule. Oh, they can also go to Amazon and buy marketing webinars. Or if they can't afford the $10, they can email me. I'll send them a free PDF.
And what's the email they should email?
Tom@leadsology.guru. I'll type it into the chat.
Tom@leadsology.guru.
Yeah, because
.com. He just made a couple of amazing offers. One, if you message him, he'll give you a replay link. And if you email him, he will send you a physical what's it called? His physical book. He will ship it to you for only like $10.
No. In PDF form.
Okay, PDF.
So they can buy it. They can buy the physical book on Amazon for $12 or the Kindle for $10. If they don't have $10 or $12, let me know. I'll send them a PDF. I want to help everyone in some measure or another. It's good content.
Get the PDF. So if you listen to any of this today or later, you could tell this guy is like he's got a lot to offer when it comes to webinars, right? And he knows his stuff.
Thanks, Mr.
Right. So Tom, what's one thing people should know about you that we haven't talked about?
Something that's relevant or something that's interesting?
Something interesting, relevant. You pick and choose.
I think, well, let's do two things. So Bill Gates dropped out of college, and Richard Branson was dyslexic and so on. So, but Gates dropped out not because he couldn't do it, because he was just didn't need it to too smart. So I failed the second to last year of high school. I never got to college. I failed the second to last year of high school, not once but twice. I'm not smart. The secret to my success is that I figured out that I only had to be smart enough to know how dumb I was.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could be just smart enough to know that I was dumb and to reach out for help, that was enough. I am a slow, plodding observer of reality. If I was a smart person, I could have figured this thing out in 11 weeks, not 11 years. So I just encourage everyone to reach out for help where you can. And secondly, to be patient with yourself, and don't listen to the gurus. I mean, if I say something and you try it my way, you do it and it doesn't work, then you should cross me off your Christmas list. So be an observer of reality. And for God's sakes, with marketers, 90% of them are bullshit artists. So don't hand anyone money until you're 100% confident. In fact, in staff, one of the best things I can recommend your clients do is do what we do and say, don't give me your money. Let's work together for 30 days. We give everyone full access to everything we've got and full support. We meet them every single week, hook them up to one, don't pay us any money. If after 30 days you think it's the real deal, then sure, we want to start getting paid. So if you can get an offer like that from someone, you should grab it because they back themselves.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Tom, Eric is saying, do you have the follow-up email sequence only to those who registered or only live attendees?
So it's a great question. The whole list, everyone who registered, including the live attendees.
So everyone gets that 5 follow-up.
Correct. Sequence. Yeah.
And they're not different between the people that do show up or don't show up.
Correct.
Because, and I can see how that works, because you're just sharing some nuggets and wisdom from the training, which is not exactly the training, and then you got call to actions in every email.
It's the same content in different formats, And
I'm guessing, does the sequence stop when they book a time with you?
We keep sending them the assets because they generally want to see what the assets look like, and I actually tell them on the webinar they're going to get this follow up. They don't have to respond to it; just save them in a file somewhere, so that if they do webinars one day, they can swipe and deploy and do something similar. And so the emails are worded in such a way that if they have already booked a consult, they're not going to go, why are they sending me still some marketing stuff? I already booked a consult. And they're worded in such a way that they attend it or not, it still reads and it still makes sense.
You got it. Now, Tom, I just want to clarify. If people email you at tom@leadsology.guru, do they get a paid version of your PDF for the book, or do they get it for free?
They get the PDF for free.
All right. So I just want to clarify that. If you email tom@leadsology.guru, you will get a free copy of his book. He will email it to you. Yeah. It's called Marketing with Webinars. Get new clients in 1 hour per month. Okay.
And it's highly prescriptive. It's the most prescriptive book I've written. Some books are just brochures. This is more like an instruction manual.
Love it. So you are sharing what actually needs to get done.
I share everything. I call it karma marketing. Those who can't afford to work with me are going to get great value. And those who can afford to work with me will probably want to reach out and do that.
Got it. Okay. So here's the next question for you. What are, aside from your own book, which we talked about, what are the top 2 or 3 books that you usually recommend or you have recommended to business owners to read?
The best business book I've ever read was the 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. Yeah. K-O-C-H, Richard Koch. Mm-hmm. 1 million copies. It is one of the very best books I've ever read. If we wanted to do down from that, Michael Masterton's Ready, Fire, Aim.
Ready, Fire, Aim. From what was the name again?
Michael Masterton.
Uh-huh. And what's the third one?
And one of my all-time favorites still is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah.
So 80-20 is definitely on my top list for sure. It actually changed the course of my life.
Yeah.
And the way I actually my simple marketing formula course comes is a result of this book.
Of 80-20. And if I could throw one there of personal interest, it's Autobiography of a Yogi.
Autobiography of a Yogi.
Paramahansa Yogananda. It's a story of his upbringing in India and moving to the United States and how he set up, I believe, a lot of ethics and no snake oil, a global empire of personal and spiritual development. It's absolutely remarkable.
Absolutely. Okay, so my last question. If you had a Facebook ad that everyone on the planet could see, what would your message to the people be? You had one shot.
Come along to my webinar, and I'll show you how to get new clients in 1 hour per month.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, good. Tom, is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
Well, I just reinforce, I think, folks, that we have to be patient with our marketing. When you're marketing, consulting, any service where there's entering into relation with a trust, don't think that you're irresistible. You've got to create that first date opportunity. You've got to create an opportunity for people to get to know you really well before you propose meeting. And that's the step that so many people miss out on, and it causes a lot of frustration for a lot of people because they go to business networking meetings or conferences or whatever and handing out business cards and don't get lucky and get disappointed and frustrated. So create the webinar. It's a terrific first date for your prospects.
Absolutely. And Tom, I love what we're talking about, and you got so much wisdom and business nuggets to share that I think we could easily talk for another hour. And so maybe we'll do another one next year and talk further and go in more depth in different topics. But I really appreciate you joining us. And gang, for those of you who are interested in getting clients through webinars, which is the thing I like about webinars is the fact that it is leveraged and it's a one-to-many kind of approach. So you're not like banging phone calls and what you might call it, trying to do one-on-one type of work. It's one-to-many. So it's a great strategy, and Tom is making a killing out of it. So are a lot of people that he's working with, and he offered his book for free if you email him, tom@leadsology.guru. The email is in the show comments on the show, and he also offered to give you a replay of his webinar, which he does. Do you do your own webinar once a month, Tom?
Yeah. Okay. And the reason I'm not going to replay is that we're not going to do one probably till February the 2nd or 3rd. So
yeah. So if you want to get a replay of his webinar on how to get this thing done, email him at tom@leadsology.guru, and he'll send you a copy of his book along with a link to the replay. Okay. There's a lot of value there for you, given what's going on in the world and all the need and the necessity for all of us to be online and to find customers online. Webinar could be a very good asset for you. So thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are watching or listening, one way we help our customers to boost their confidence and take their business to the next level is through our boot camp called Simple Marketing Formula. That's where we spend 3 days together to create your one-page marketing plan for 2021. So it's a plan that you could use to basically take your marketing and your sales to the next level. And because it's one page, you actually get to use it every day, right? So it's happening on January 22nd to 24th. You could join us and check out the information there. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, leave it in the show comments on any channel that you're watching. And if you ask questions, you also enter the draw for the Amazon gift card draw that we're doing later today or tomorrow. And we'll announce it and you'll be part of it. I hope that you have a very Merry Christmas and a holiday season and Happy New Year. And we'll see you on our next show. My name is Mustafa Hosseini, and I'm your host for Daily Confidence for Entrepreneurs. Bye now.